Have you ever heard of the terrifying creature that haunted Enfield, Illinois? Well, imagine you're a kid home alone with your sibling, watching TV on a quiet April night. Suddenly, a loud scratching noise at the front door shatters your peace. What would you do? This is exactly what happened to the McDaniel children in Enfield, Illinois, in 1973. Little did they know, they were about to come face to face with a creature straight out of a nightmare. Glowing pink eyes, grayish, slimy skin, and 3-clawed feet. This wasn't just any ordinary monster. This was the Enfield Monster. After diving deep into countless old news articles and police reports, I've pieced together the most comprehensive account of the Enfield Monster. Let's begin. It was an eerie evening on April 25th, 1973, in the small town of Enfield, Illinois. The McDaniel children, Henry Jr. and his sister Lillian, who oddly enough were named exactly like their parents, were home alone, eagerly awaiting Mom and Dad to return from work. The clock struck 10 p.m., and the siblings were engrossed in their favorite TV show when a creepy scratching noise interrupted their peace. Curiosity got the better of Henry Jr. He approached the front door cautiously, wondering what could be causing the noise. As he slowly opened the door, his heart raced. Before him stood a creature beyond his wildest nightmares. A grotesque-looking monster that seemed to be out of this world. The monster stared back at him. Panic-stricken, Henry slammed the door shut and ran to hide with his sister. But the monster wasn't backing down. It started searching for another way in. That's when the kids heard something shaking and moving the AC unit that was mounted on the window. Henry Jr. and Lillian were begging for the door and window to hold shut until their parents arrived. When Mr. and Mrs. McDaniel got home and found their kids in a high state of panic, the kids explained everything to their dad. Henry thought that their minds were playing tricks on them, but then he heard it. Now concerned, he looked outside and saw something that he thought might be a bear. Taking a gun and flashlight, he ventured into the warm, gusty night, apprehension mounting within him. Getting a weird feeling about the situation, he started looking around and saw a creature between 2 rose bushes. He quickly realized that it wasn't a bear. He later stated it had 3 legs on it, a short body, 2 little short arms, and 2 pink eyes as big as flashlights. It stood 4 or 5 feet tall and was grayish colored. He added later that it was almost like a human body. McDaniel fired 4 shots at the creature, 1 shot hitting it and causing it to make a hiss, much like a wildcat's, before fleeing towards a nearby railway embankment covering 50 feet in 3 jumps. McDaniel called the local authorities, who discovered footprints in the soft earth near the house, which Henry described as dog-like in shape with 6 toe pads. The police considered McDaniel to be rational and sober in his reporting of the incident. In a later press interview, Henry said, "If they do find it, they will find more than one, and they won't be from this planet, I can tell you that." Okay, pause. A weird fact about Illinois. Did you know that it is the state that produces more nuclear energy than any other state in the country? Do you think it has anything to do with the monster? Maybe mutation, I don't know. Back to the story. Investigators interviewing nearby residents were told that Greg Garrett, a 10-year-old neighbor of Henry, claimed to have encountered the creature half an hour before McDaniel did, and that the monster had stepped on his foot, tearing his shoe to shreds. The boy later told Western Illinois University researchers that his report was a hoax to tease Mr. M and have fun with an out-of-town reporter. 2 weeks later, on May 6th, McDaniel called the radio station WWKI, claiming to have seen the creature again at 3 a.m. that morning. It was negotiating the trestles of the railroad tracks near his home, and McDaniel said, "I saw something moving out on the railroad track, and there it stood. I didn't shoot at it or anything. It started to go down the railroad track. It wasn't in a hurry or anything, so I came to call you guys." A search party, including WWKI's news director, Rick Rainbow, explored the area later that day and reported observing an ape-like creature standing in an abandoned building near McDaniel's house. They claimed to have made a recording of the creature's cries and fired a shot at it before it fled. Cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman investigated the case and the sound recording. 2 days later, a day after McDaniel was interviewed on local radio, the local press reported that police were called to investigate reports of gunfire and arrested 5 young men from out of town who had come to Enfield in order to photograph the monster, carrying shotguns and rifles for protection. The men claimed to have sighted the creature. They all agreed. It could jump and outrun any human being, they stated. Roy, the White County Sheriff, dismissed reports of this monster hunting expedition as an exaggeration, saying that the men were just out drinking and raising hell, mentioning the monster during questioning. The men were charged with hunting violations. That raises a question. How did the Enfield community deal with the fear of people heavily armed and the unknown creature? The incidents were reported widely in the press at the time. It appeared in newspapers throughout the state. After the arrest of the 5 men who had arrived to hunt the creature, residents of Enfield expressed fears that press coverage would lead to further monster hunters who might inadvertently shoot citizens or livestock. It was suggested that the creature may have been an ape or kangaroo that escaped from a nearby zoo, which would explain the 3 legs description, as the tails of kangaroos look like a 3rd leg. McDaniel was very sure and firm that the creature wasn't no kangaroo, having owned such creature as a pet while on military service in Australia. Kangaroos have narrow faces and tracks that leave claw marks. Following media coverage of the creature, an Ohio man contacted a local newspaper stating that the creature may have been his pet kangaroo, Macy, which had been lost or stolen a year previously. Did you know that over a dozen people claim to have seen the Enfield monster within just a few months? Eyewitness reports describe the Enfield monster as having 3 legs and glowing eyes. And these aren't isolated incidents. That's why the Enfield Monster Story is one of the top 10 most documented monster sightings in the U.S. Do you know any similar creatures reported in other parts of the world? The story of the Enfield Monster serves as a reminder of the power of fear and the unknown. Whether the creature was real or a product of collective hysteria, it left a lasting impact on the community. It teaches us to approach the unknown with caution and skepticism, but also with an open mind. Sometimes the mysteries of the world are not meant to be solved, but to remind us of the vastness and unpredictability of our surroundings. After hearing all these details, doesn't it seem like they're weaving a sneaky web of cover-ups? I mean, isn't it a bit suspicious that a kangaroo went missing during the Enfield chaos, or that an ape made a great escape around the same spot? It feels like they're pushing for these logical explanations a bit too enthusiastically. I'm itching to hear your take on this mysterious puzzle.